Thank you everyone for being here. It's my pleasure to launch at COP30 in Belém, the World Championship for Energy Saving. And to launch this initiative, I will call on stage Yves-Laurent Sapoval, Ministerial Delegate for Sustainable Cities and Urban Envoy for France, as well as Judy Zorkreski, VP International Code Council and GIBC Co-Chair of the Adaptation Hub. With your applause, of course.
You go first. Might be generous. You combine.
Okay, thank you, John, and thank you for inviting me here today. Congratulations to everyone here. The awards are a very exciting event. As John mentioned, I'm the co-chair of the GlobalABC Adaptation Hub, which is in a slightly different lane from what you all are doing here, although we all know that adaptation and mitigation are tied or are linked. What I want to tell you about today is just very, very briefly about the work that the Adaptation Hub has been doing that has some crossover effect with what you may be facing with the energy efficiency work that you all are doing. And what we found and what we're going to be launching are pathways for action for different stakeholder groups along the buildings and construction value chain. Because what we found when we were trying to put together best practice examples of how different countries, different cities are effectively adapting, we were finding that there are no really great repeatable practices, and that took us down an 18-month road where we started looking at the different stakeholder groups and kind of understanding that if everyone is responsible, no one is responsible, right? If there's the buildings and construction value chain is so fragmented, each stakeholder group, and by stakeholder group I'm talking about national governments who are the policymakers, subnational governments, the regulators, the enforcement officials, finance, insurance, designers, property owners, materials manufacturers, utility and energy companies, contractors, builders, civil society organizations, and I think looking at the list, most of those groups are represented here. Now each of those groups can have a certain impact on, in our case, resilience, in this case, energy efficiency, and so our call, and I hope that you can think about echoing this call, to each stakeholder group is to do what you can within your frame of your sphere of influence. So a policymaker at the national level can make a policy to encourage resilience, to encourage energy efficiency, and then other stakeholders along the value chain will respond. Likewise, a building owner can demand higher energy efficiency, higher resilience, and then the builders will respond. And an insurance company can require a higher level of sustainability or resilience, and builders will respond. And so if everyone just worries about their own sphere of influence, then together we can move the needle and start to unlock more opportunities for resilience and, in your case, energy efficiency. So that is my extended call to action beyond what the Adaptation Hub is doing to the greater challenge for energy efficiency in buildings. Thank you for having me, and good luck with the awards, or the competition.
Thank you so much. Ça marche ou pas?
Ça marche? Ça marche. Okay, well, I'm sorry for those who in the room already heard this about 100 times from me, so I don't know. Either I repeat always the same, either I change, and then some might miss part of the message. So, well, I think I choose the repeating one. The repeating one is that, of course, you know the important, as you are here, you know the importance of buildings for climate. This, I won't go through that. You know the path that we've been going through since COP21, trying to get this embedded into the climate discussions. We now have a buildings breakthrough. We have a GlobalABC gathering, 400 about 400 members, including 70 countries. We have a Buildings Breakthrough with 30 front-runner countries. And we have a Declaration Chaillot, which is global principles for governments to follow and engagements for decarbonizing and making resilience their building sector. So this is, of course, this is very important. And what we are doing here, and I repeat always the same, is complementary to what is done there within the negotiations, because if we do not show that it is possible to do and to implement, if we do not show that on the ground the whole value chain of the stakeholders of the building sector are able to implement and to dramatically decrease the emissions from the ground, they won't be able to take these engagements from themselves. So the day-to-day work that we are doing is both valuable in terms of energy savings, carbon savings, and etc. But it's also valuable in terms of capacity of engaging for the governments. I'm myself from a government, and what happened for us, we wanted to to set up a regulation on office buildings, and this regulation was, come on, decrease your emissions and decrease your energy use. But it's not easy with the private sector. You know, the office buildings, they are, I mean, it's over costs. They say it's very complicated. We got through a discussion that for, I think, years, I don't remember, I think it was 4 years, I don't remember exactly, 4 or 5 years, to be able to discuss and to put in place what we call now the décret tertiaire, which is hardly, legally binding, decreasing of energy within the office building and tertiary buildings. This all is reported on a global platform, and each company in France, using more, I think, than 1,000 square meters. I don't know exactly. I don't remember exactly. They report yearly on a platform that is called OFAT. You can have a look at the OFAT platform at ADEME. Very interesting. They report on the savings, on the energy savings that they do each year after year. This is mandatory. This is regulation. This regulation didn't come in one day. As I said, discussions. Impossible, possible, impossible, difficult, impossible, possible. Okay, so that's what happened. Finally, that's what happened, and it shows that when it comes from the ground, when it comes from discussions, I mean, us government, we couldn't have said like that, okay, you're going to decrease your emissions. That would have been a revolution, okay? But we went through this discussion, we went through this step-by-step approach, and then we succeeded in doing that. So what we're doing globally here in GlobalABC is exactly the same thing. We are making this possible. So I think it is important that we bear this in mind when we think about exactly what we are doing here. Another thing is, this is going to be very long. What we're doing here is going to be very long. Déclaration Chaillot, very good. The Buildings Breakthrough, even if it's for 2030, you see what I mean? Okay. So what can we do within this moment, within this, before that? What can we implement together before that? We can try on a day-to-day basis to decrease our energy without trying to make efforts, individual efforts, like explaining to your children that they have to switch off the light or that we don't have to heat our house for the whole day, 27 degrees when it's minus 10 outside, or in the meantime you don't have to, well, of course, this is not the right place to say that, but we don't have to refrigerate at 19 degrees when it's 30 degrees outside with 80% humidity anyway. Yeah, what we propose to do here, exactly that. The championship of the COP30 sweating pavilion. We are proposing here we are proposing here to say, hey, what you can do on a day-to-day basis, what you can do, do it now. Do it exactly now, and compare what you're doing with the others. See how far you can go, how far you can normally go. Nobody has to torture himself or whatever. And what they are showing through that is two things. One, you can dramatically, if you have a projection. I don't remember the numbers, but Cédric and you will tell the numbers. The numbers are incredible if you really think that you implement this at a global level. So this is one thing. Second thing, it is just a first step to maybe be able also to set up a regulation that would be more or less approaching the regulation we have in France, which is, okay, there are the front runners, that we have people show to that it is possible, and then we can implement a regulation that is making this mandatory for the people who are really not willing to do or forgetting that they are living in a world that is literally melting. So before we all melt together, I'm going to give the floor to John, and thank you for this. No, I forgot to say that I'm officially launching the World Championship for etc. So I'm doing this. It's officially launched.
And I had a huge pyrotechnic effect that was supposed to shoot out from everywhere, but the security didn't let me get in with the pyrotechnic. So all I have is this slide, but I hope you'll have the same energy. Thank you so much, Yves Laurent. Thank you so much, Judy. And to explain what's the World Championship for Energy Saving, I'm calling on stage Cédric Borel, Director of A4MT and co-chair of the Sufficiency Hub of the GlobalABC.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you, everybody. Really, we did this work in the Sufficiency Hub to look at all the regulation we could make to implement quickly savings. There was a lot of discussion around there, but if we try to go to the kinetics of savings we can do, of regulation we could implement, we came to this simple process that Yves Laurent have been mentioning, is to go for immediate savings, regulating the buildings, and then paving the way to a regulation enforcing mandatory saving all the world. So energy efficiency is not as simple, but we can walk the way towards 2050 and giving goals to all the buildings and having them walking the way to mandatory energy saving worldwide. That's what we plan for you, for the GlobalABC, and of course, next slide. It's to have this competition together. Two competitions. You'll be discovering the countries who are joining this Olympics for energy savings worldwide. The first have been voted 2 days ago. They've been voting for joining in to endorse the process and to be with us for this Olympics next year. And there will be countries and there will be corporates because there is worldwide corporates coming in to show they can walk the way and pave the way to regulation. For all the countries within the championship, we will do the same pathway that Yves Laurent have been referring to. So everybody will perform voluntary energy savings. We ask all the countries to provide their best champions to the COP. And then, of course, to study with us, to consider regulating with all these case studies coming out of the ground, with this consensus coming in their own markets. They will have to consider to implement such energy regulations. And of course, energy savings can be everything. It can be sufficiency. That's why we worked on it on the Sufficiency Hub of the GlobalABC. It have to be efficiency. And of course, in the pathway from now to 2050, you got 25 years. So you will come one day to big capex. So to walk the way, any buildings can go for capex and opex, and we'll have to have all these ingredients to come to the savings, mandatory savings. we did the calculation. If all the building in the world, I join in these figures, the housing industry, the housing, if we go all for sufficiency and efficiency drive with a minus 25% savings, we can erase 5% of global emission right in 2030. If we go for sufficiency plan worldwide for housing, and if we go for regulation for non-housing, it's 5% we can achieve in 2030. So it's very close to us. Of course, to do that, you can manage CapEx and OpEx, combining efficiency, and it solves a little bit, it solves the tenant-landlord conflict on who is going to save, because one has to be a sufficient tenant, and of course I have to provide an efficient building if I'm a landlord. So it doesn't cost for the non-housing sector any money from the state. There is a big difference between housing needing a lot of subsidies or public money, but once you regulate the non-housing sector, you don't need to call any public money, you just need to have money to control and enforce the regulation. So, to all the GlobalABC, which is very much concerned about affordable housing, housing is first, you have a tick-the-box regulation toolkit you can come across, implement in your countries, so you will have done the job on the non-housing sector. These are very good for countries. This is what we have been providing on such countries like the UK, France, Cambodia, and I will join the Défi Energy in Quebec and in Canada, and a lot of friends which are performing this contest worldwide, like the World Resource Institute, that will talk to us in a few seconds. So a lot of companies are keen to have this regulation. I spoke because before coming at COP, I spoke with Land Securities, with Heinz, Americans. They ask for a décret tertiaire. We will have to translate it, but they ask for such a regulation in order to have a mandatory pathway, to have these savings at the stage of compliance in their corporate world, and so they are calling for energy savings. And I'm very glad that UK will join heavily the World Championship for Energy Savings. We found a 15% average savings per year. I could tell you that the best has performed more than 50%. Okay, it was very bad before, so 50% was very, very badly managed before. And then for the sake of the new build, because GlobalABC is working on net zero energy building, we opened for France and for Europe a full CapEx category in order to see where super building with high investment goes in terms on energy efficiency, if they can come to a super efficient consumption. And so it's very inspiring that we can equip GlobalABC with policies for the existing stock and policies for the new build and their definition. This will be really exciting. John.
Thank you so much, Cédric.
Thank you very much to all.
And round of applause, please. So, World Championship for Energy Saving is about implementing ICBC climate goals into the commercial real estate. And so, naturally, I'm calling Alida Saleh, Senior Advisor to the Climate Champion team of COP30 and Head of Sustainability, MEA in GLL, to come to the stage.
Thank you so much. So, I hear it so often that sustainable buildings cost more. Every time I have these conversations with my clients, what I think we need to switch the conversation to is business opportunity. Green buildings are one of the biggest business opportunities that exists. Cooling is a big opportunity, materials are big opportunities, and it costs less to operate. And it attracts high premiums, rental premiums from our occupiers and tenants, and people are willing to pay more. So today I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk how JLL, which is a real estate consulting firm, looks at it from our research that we've done and from the engagements that we've had with our clients. So, like you said, I'm Alida Saleh. I'm the head of sustainability for the Middle East and Africa regions. I'm also privileged to be part of the high-level climate champions team for the built environment as a senior advisor. So we all know that energy efficiency is not a nice to have. It's absolutely essential. So the built environment is where we can make a real difference. And I feel like it just doesn't get enough of limelight. It seems like we speak in our own world. So my call to action today is, as was said earlier, let's use our influence where we can and make the business case. It's not about sustainability. It's about improving how people feel in the environment that they live. It's about us having lower bills to pay, and at the same time making sure that the assets that we choose to invest in are actually attracting better returns and are mitigating any obsolescence that could come with brown discounts. So we're starting to see a huge shift in the market globally. In North America, in Europe, in other parts of the developed world, we start to see that our stock is aging. And the stock is aging, but the tenant demands, investor demands are changing, because what we're starting to see with investors and tenants is that they're coming in with their own ESG criterias. However, our buildings are not performing to that standard. So huge business opportunity to bridge that gap. So what we're starting to see is that retrofitting the way we're currently doing is insufficient. We need to increase retrofitting by 5 times in order to be able to meet the demands that are existing. So anybody who's into investing into ESG, this is a huge business opportunity. And then when we look at emerging markets, so I live in the UAE, and so we're starting to see that a huge flux of investors are coming to the market, and the government is really changing the way that they're trying to attract businesses and investors. However, we don't have the regulations. We're on our way to the regulations. However, what we're starting to see is investors are now demanding, I need better buildings, I need more credible, for example, LEED certified buildings, I needed to have performance levels at this, and we may not have that kind of stock available. So a huge market shift is happening where tenants are coming in saying, I want to do this, but we have a lack of supply. So the lack in supply and demand is actually changing the premium rentals that grade A premium buildings are attracting. So for example, in the UK, we're looking at almost 7% increase of rental premiums over the market value. In Asia, we're looking at 10%. In London, approximately 11%. And here's the big number. In the Middle East, we're starting to see between 10 and 25% over market value. So I'll give you an example of the building that we occupy. It's called the ICD Brookfield Place in Dubai. Grade A premium quality building. Was built during COVID, and they weren't sure that they were going to be able to attract the right types of tenants. It was a LEED Platinum certified building. Today, they have Apple, JLL, they have EY, they have, if you look at the list of the tenants that they have, it's the creme de la creme, and the reason I say that is because it's one of the very few buildings that are able to get all the things checked off for their ESG criteria while they provide an exceptional experience for their tenants. They're creating a live, work, play area. So these premium buildings are attracting, and that's a big business opportunity. So what we're also starting to see is that 75% of the future office requirements and 65% of industrial spaces needs top occupiers are currently tied to carbon commitments, but there's a huge gap in what's available. So as we're starting to see industrial areas also increasing in terms of their development, that we see a huge opportunity here as well. So I think the risk of obsolescence is something that not many people talk about. So as our stock ages, we're starting to see that investors are not going to want to invest. If you had a crystal ball, I always say this, if you had a crystal ball and you knew that your asset was going to increase by 25 to 50%, you'd be like, I'm going to buy that. But if you knew if it was going to decrease in value, would you invest in it? And that's where investors are at today, because the future demands dictate that you change your profile of investing. So I think the business opportunity is very clear. We're starting to see the same in a lot of the different types of clients that we're working with. So for example, the Empire State Building. Retrofitting that building reduced energy costs by 40% and saved them $4.4 million a year. In the UAE, we're starting to see Heriot-Watt University campus and Aldar, which is one of the largest developers in the UAE. They're achieving between 40 and 70% carbon savings to their new construction, and they're starting to see a huge boost in employee well-being, productivity. So I think we need to see business case not only as a tangible product that we're going to make money from, but it's a great way to make people feel good in where they live. And I say this so often, but we are the curators of how people feel. And it's all about people, and we need to bring that down. So let's have these conversations with the clients to talk about, what's the regulations that are required, because without regulations, you can still move the dial. However, it's harder. You have the demand, and you have the right types of people who are asking for it. We just need to come together, think together. Technology is existing. I know in the built environment we're a little bit more cautious of the types of technologies we're willing to test and learn. So I would say that we need to think through how we're going to converge together. And I think so this brings me to the action agenda. Right. Today at COP, we're talking about the action agenda. It's one of the times that, the Climate Champions team has worked very, very closely with the COP30 presidency. And it's an amazing opportunity where we've actually started to see, organizations such as yourselves coming together, creating these plans to accelerate solutions where it actually becomes about implementation. So, just some facts and figures for you, for those who may not be, aware of the types of long hours it went into to create this. It took 4 months for us to put this together, but it was a lot of work. And so we worked through 6 axes. We got 30 activation groups. And from that, I think almost 500 solutions. And then we're starting to see that in 4 months, we engaged 150 initiatives to the NASCA platform, which is pretty phenomenal. And we've started to see the granary of solutions with almost 700 cases, developed over 100 concrete actions plans. So we're starting to see that we're moving beyond the talk. And I think all of us are tired of talking. Let's just make it happen. So my call to action is the cost of doing nothing is going to cost a lot more than the cost of doing something. So let's come together and make this happen. Thank you.
So much, Alida. Thank you for sharing those insights. So the World Championship for Energy Saving is like, we called it an Olympics of energy. I'm sorry. An energy Olympics. So that means having countries, and we already have countries implementing energy leagues as we speak. One of them is Mexico, thanks to the World Resource Institute of Mexico. And it's my pleasure to invite on stage Francisco Barnes Reguero, Executive Director of WRI Mexico. Thank you so much. Just before you start, I will say that we have a very low-tech system for slide sharing. So you just have to say, next slide, please, and the next slide will magically switch.
Excellent. First of all, many thanks for the invite, John Shadrick. Thanks a lot for inviting me here. If we can go to the next one. For those of you that don't know, for those of you that don't know WRI, we are a global think tank that works on providing solutions for people, nature, and climate. Besides energy, we work in other systems. We work in food, land, and water, cities which are fully interconnected. We have offices all across the world, Mexico being one of them. If we can go to the next slide, please. What I'll do today is I'll give a very brief context of how the energy situation looks like in Mexico, and then I will go into a buildings challenge that we created not long ago that hopefully can serve as an example of how to move forward. What you can see is that energy demand in Mexico has been growing consistently over the years at a pace of around 1.5%. Most of this energy demand is met by fossil fuels, which creates a need to decarbonize. If you can see, renewable energy has lately picked up in growth, but not significantly. If you look at the electricity matrix, we've moved from a participation of 19% in 2017 to 26% in last year. The expectations are to grow to 45% by 2030, which is a huge challenge given the point where we are at. That means about 28 gigawatts of additional capacity. So energy efficiency is key to help avoid installing that much capacity. Let's go to the next one, please. As you can see, we are still at the stage where emissions, energy demand, and economic growth are fully coupled. So if we want to do decoupling, we need to work around many initiatives, energy efficiency being one of them. When you look at where fossil fuel consumption is, you can see that it's pretty much divided in three spaces. Certainly electricity generation, transportation, and then demand from industry, particularly from the oil sector for self-consumption. Let's go to the next one. So I'm not going to preach to the converted. Obviously, energy efficiency has so many benefits, including being an economic engine, creating jobs, boosting productivity, which is something fundamental for the case of Mexico, particularly at the stage at the stage that we are in terms of politics. As you know, Mexico is one of the countries that it's most vulnerable to tariffs, and right now we've been imposed significant tariffs. Mexico is a manufacturing hub. Our economy is very much based on exports. About 40% of the economy is based on exports, and 80% of our exports go to the US. So right now, productivity is a key way, not only for economic growth, but only as in the sense of national security. Mexico has been doing some good work around this. In the last years, from 2010 till today, we've been able to lower about 20% final energy consumption with respect to the expected baseline. That has already materialized in significant cost savings in industry from around 15 to 25%. And we've built institutions that supervise energy consumption, energy demand. We have the National Commission of Energy Savings that's also supporting thousands of SMEs adopting efficiency technology, and it also sets up efficiency standards. Let's go to the next one. So if energy efficiency is relevant, energy efficiency in buildings is one of the most cost-effective measures that we can pursue. We know that the potential at a global level is around 6 gigatons of carbon reduction. Most of this cost-effective measures below $20 per ton. So based on this, we've worked on launching and focusing a lot in energy efficiency in buildings in the work we do in Mexico. Let's go to the next one, please. So that's how we set the Buildings Challenge. The Buildings Challenge is an effort to try to bring buildings in Mexico to a 20% reduction in their energy consumption in 3 years. This is done through the Building Efficiency Accelerator, which is a global program that WRI is leading at a world level. But we've launched it in Mexico, and we've included other partners, technical partners that are helping us with this, as well as municipalities and subnational governments in Mexico, particularly in the state of Sonora and the city of Monterrey. We've already been working with 34 companies and organizations that participate in that. As of now, We have 60 buildings that have been signed to this effort with implications on over 14,000 employees. So far, the results are okay. 100% of the participants have reduced their energy consumption versus the baseline at least in 10%. And a few of those, around 20, have gone beyond the target, reducing it above 24%. But I think the most relevant thing, beyond the actual numbers, which are still small, I mean, this is a pilot, what this shows is that through collaboration, through capacity building, you can actually engage a community that works around a particular objective that is critical for reducing emissions and also for national energy security in Mexico. Let's go to the next one, please. I mean, we've in this effort, we've set an array, a portfolio of very attractive buildings. We have historical buildings. We have certainly the very new buildings that are set for corporates, government buildings. So it's an eclectic array of buildings, and the results are promising. I think this is just a seed for what we want to do moving forward. Let's go to the next one, please. So, I mean, if you look at what are the biggest outputs of what I've just said, is like we do need to continue working and ensuring that we can decouple emissions and energy consumption from economic growth. Certainly, energy efficiency is a potential to do so. Energy efficiency in buildings is a very cost-effective way of doing that. And we believe launching an effort like the one we are launching here today is a fantastic way to actually engage relevant stakeholders into doing so. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Paco. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Paco. So we talked about Mexico, but after the ICBC meeting of the Global Alliance for Building and Construction, we had many more countries to endorse the initiative. On the next slide, there's a few of the flags of the endorsing countries. We have Mexico, we have the UK, we have France, we have Kenya, we have Bangladesh, we have Luxembourg, we have Armenia, we have Somalia, we have Mauritius. And we also have acknowledgers such as Germany, Italy, Australia, and Turkey, who will be looking at what's happening in these endorsing countries to evaluate if they should enter as well into those championships. So we already have a lot of countries that are going to be joining the World Championship that we are going to be working with to implement such programs as the Reto de Edificios Eficientes in Mexico with our different partners, with the IAA, the WRI, the World Building Council, all the partners that we have gathered here today. And speaking of partner, it is my pleasure to call on Zohair Hamadi, Executive Director for the Regional Center of Renewable Energy and Efficiency, REEE. And round of applause, please. Oh, there you go. Next slide.
Thank you very much. It's the Regional Center for Renewable and Energy Efficiency. Just very briefly introducing the center, it's the technical arm of the League of Arab States for everything related to renewable energy and energy efficiency. The headquarters of the center is in Cairo, Egypt, and we collaborate directly on a bilateral basis with all Arab countries, supporting them in their energy transition efforts, but also on a regional basis, working with the League of Arab States, and it's with them that we launch the regional initiatives for the region, including energy efficiency. So we are very honored and pleased to be part of this initiative, and we really are looking forward to see how we could work together on that perspective, because energy efficiency is really something that needs to be a very special focus in the Arab region. Please allow me just to very briefly explain a little bit the history of energy efficiency in the region. Historically, other parts of the world have always started by renewable energy before moving, by energy efficiency and then gradually moving to renewable energy. In the Arab region, it's actually the opposite. The shift was, or the focus was first on renewable energy, and energy efficiency came really at a later stage, and it's still lagging behind, in the region, but with a notable exception, I would say, of Tunisia. Tunisia is a country that does everything differently as far as energy efficiency is concerned and renewable energy in the region. So they were the first to focus on it, and for very obvious reasons, because they are a net importing country, and the bill of importing gas was very high on their budget, around $800 million per year. So it's very heavy for their budget. And therefore, they needed really to work on energy efficiency in order to reduce consumption. So they were really the first ones to work on that with a very strong focus. Now, energy efficiency, or in the building sector in the Arab region, I think that this comes in a very timely opportunity for us. First of all, because the building sector represents around nearly 25% of total final energy consumption in the Arab region. So this is very big, very, very important. Second, as far as the concerned, we have just finalized our new strategy, and in that strategy we have put energy efficiency at the top of our priorities. And that's why we are very happy to be part of this initiative, because we believe that this initiative is going to be very helpful for us to highlight the benefits of energy efficiency in the Arab region. There are some champions that already exist, and I think that Somalia and Mauritania are really good countries to use as champions, but we will also be working with other countries of the Arab region to encourage them to be part of that initiative, and especially a country like Tunisia. Talking about buildings, maybe some people might think that some countries are maybe the least countries to be interested in energy efficiency, like, for example, the oil-producing countries. And this is absolutely wrong, actually, because the countries that are now investing a lot in district cooling, for example, are the countries of the GCC. And why? Because of their domestic consumption that is extremely high, and that is representing a kind of threat to their capacity to export and gas. Just give a figure. Saudi Arabia, as far as today, consumes around 25% of its oil production. And in Saudi Arabia, they burn oil to produce electricity. So if they continue within that pace of consumption, by 20, and they produce 10 billion barrels per day. So they have 25%, so 2.5 million barrels per day, just for their domestic energy consumption. By 2035, if they keep on consuming energy as they are, with an annual increase of around 6% in their energy consumption, Saudi Arabia will consume 5 million barrels per day from just, their domestic consumption, which means half their oil production. And it's very well known that they will not be able to increase their production with the same level. So they would definitely need to work on their energy efficiency. And Saudi Arabia, among other countries in the GCC, have started gradually to understand the importance of energy efficiency. And the trend is actually, in my opinion, going in that direction. That's why the center, in its new strategy, has put the focus on energy efficiency. And we are going to be working on a country basis and also on a regional basis in order to enhance the role of energy efficiency in the energy policies of the countries of the region. Recently, in a meeting of the League of Arab States, the center has been tasked by the League of Arab States in order to develop a study on the benefits of energy efficiency in the buildings sector. So again, this initiative is really a timely initiative because we are working on that already on a regional basis and on a country basis. And we are really looking forward to see how, working together, we can bring the energy efficiency high on the agenda. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. 1, 2. Yep, thank you so much, Dr. Zouir. So you're now the official coach of the Arabic countries, and I will point out that Mauritania and Somalia has already officially endorsed the championship, so we're looking forward to receiving their teams. Next slide, we were expecting Jane Cohen, a senior policy analyst from EIA, to join the stage. Unfortunately, she is not available right now. So we'll move on to our next speaker, which is Anthony Agota, and EU Special Envoy for Climate from the European Commission. Is Anthony somewhere around here or not? If not, that's too bad, because I was about to announce the Eurovision of energy efficiency with him, but it's okay. Maybe later. Maybe later. So we'll just keep moving on. And so what exactly is the World Championship for Energy Saving? Well, it's about saving energy in buildings. And over the years, we had a lot of buildings coming in the championship demonstrating that they were able to achieve quite fairly large saving, even in quite emblematic buildings. Alida mentioned the Empire State Buildings. In London, the 20 Fenchurch Street, which is famously named the Walkie-Talkie, joined Cube a few years ago and was able to save 36% of its energy consumption, thanks to the work of the teams over there at the Savills team and Sean Harlow's team. That's a massive gain in energy saving, massive gain in financial saving as well, by reprogramming, being more intelligent with the technicality of the building, going a bit deeper into the BMS, and also engaging with the tenants as much as possible. There's a lot of case studies like this that we're going to be publishing on our website. I won't go into details too much right now. It's all about changing buildings. It's also about changing people in organization. Next slide is a case study about one of our champions in France, the France Post Group, which has been with us for a few years, and that over the years have built their capacity of saving energy among their buildings. In 2023, they saved 21 gigawatts of energy on approximately over 800,000 square meters of buildings. There were 61 buildings joining the competition, and that's them wielding the trophy of that edition. That unfortunately was a bit too large to fit in my luggage, so I wasn't able to bring it at COP. So again, there's going to be many case studies like this that we'll be publishing, but I won't too deep into those case studies, because I have with me real champions that are here at COP. And so it is my pleasure to call on stage the Équipe de France of Energy Saving with Esther Finidori, Chief Sustainability Officer of Schneider Electric, Florence Fouquet, VP ESG, NG, and Rémi Bussac, Senior Climate Policy Advisor at EDF, all members of the French team, but also global corporate. You've all played a role in the genesis of the program in France and then its international expansion. So I'll start by Esther to give, if you can please share your view on energy saving and how you're helping through Schneider enforce that goal for all your clients.
So hi everyone. I will tell you why we really like the championship that has already going on for several years in France, and so why we decided to support the next phase of international expansion. There are two reasons. The first reason is that, efficiency is often tied to a negative narrative. But we can regret it, but that's true. The championship changes this entirely through collaboration, because of course it's a competition, but they bring a lot of collaboration, sharing, ideas, insights, support, and through the gamification. Something else that I really like is when a company receives an award, and we've received some of them, typically the people that are put into the light, they're not the CEOs, they're not necessarily the executives of the company, it's the technical energy manager. The guy who's hidden in the building's basement the entire year, all of a sudden in the spotlight for the amazing work that he or she is doing. And I love that, the positive narrative and the fact that they put forward all the people with the technical competencies to make it happen. The second reason why I really love the championship, it was quite well said in the introduction section about adaptation. It's the technology, but it's also how the different stakeholders work together. And when you're building and you're trying to figure out how to make it happen, in fact, you understand how you're going to break those silos, and including collaboration between different stakeholders, but it goes all the way to how to change the legal contracts that you have with your facility manager, with your canteen. Because whenever you want to manage better energy, you need to engage those stakeholders in how you coordinate, how you set performance targets, all the way to contracts. And in practice, in buildings, when you figure out how to reduce energy, you engage in those conversations and we understand how to change stakeholder relationships to make it happen. And I found that extremely powerful. It's the technology, of course, that Schneider sells, but much beyond that is how do you change the organization within the assets, within the buildings to be more efficient. So we've loved this championship for years. We're happy to help, give a little bit of support for it to go to the next level, and I hope it will have an incredible success. It's worth it.
Thank you so much, Esther. I'm turning to Florence from ENGIE. ENGIE also is a major player of energy efficiency. ENGIE has helped a lot of champions that came into the championship to reach those goals. So please, can you share your thoughts about energy savings here with us?
Hello to everybody. So ENGIE is a big utility present in 30 countries. And at the core of our strategy, we have energy transition. And for energy transition, we are playing, of course, on electrification, decarbonization, and energy efficiency. So for energy efficiency, this is something which is very important for our customers. We have a lot of customers, B2B, B2C, 20 million customers over the world. And it's very important for us to support these customers in order for them to greenify and to be more efficient. And maybe 5 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago, we said, well, but we are, sharing this with our customers, but what about you, ENGIE? What do we do for our own energy transition and energy efficiency? So we decided to set an ambitious objective by 2030 in order to be net zero in 2030 for all our buildings in the world, in order to be able to showcase to our customers that it is possible. And the last example that I wanted to share with you is about our headquarters. In a few months in Paris, it is our native country, France. We will move in a new headquarters near Paris, and it will be a fantastic building. We wanted really this building to be an example of what we can do. And we designed this building, and we even manufactured some equipments in the building. And it is a net zero building, in fact, because first, for heating and cooling, we are using a deep geothermal solution, which is possible even in Paris, which is very interesting. And so we are using water which is in the underground of our building. It's a passive system, an open loop system, in which in winter you can heat your building by using this water, and on the contrary, in summer you can cool your building by using this water. And 80% of our heat and of our cool is coming from this system. For the 20% of the heat which is remaining in winter, we are using biogas. Biogas is very important for us. We are very much involved into the development of biomethane in the country where we are. So not only green electrons, but also green molecules. And we are using for 20% of our heat in the headquarters biogas. And then for the electricity, what we will do in these buildings, then we'll have solar panels in the roof, and we have batteries. And when we cannot use solar panel, when we cannot use our battery, then we are using green electricity, the PPA contract. So this is really, you know, complete energetic system with energy efficiency, but also the way to use all these green solutions with PV, with geothermy, with green electricity. So it is a great example, and we are moving in a few months in this building, so we will be able to showcase that to our customers, and it will be the same everywhere in the world, in our offices, in order to be net zero in all our buildings in 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Rémi Bussac from EDF. So EDF obviously is a major player here as well. Can you please share your thoughts on the championship?
Thank you, John. Yes, actually, so I'm very honored to represent EDF today. As John said, we are a major electric utility. Actually, we are the largest producer of decarbonized electricity, not only in Europe, but in the world, with more than 5,500 terawatt-hours of electricity, decarbonized electricity produced every year. These energy Olympics, as we could call them, are far more than just a game or a competition between commercial buildings. We really consider it as a shared ambition to collectively mitigate climate change and to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. In France, it was mentioned previously, we have the chance to have an ambitious national regulation when it comes to energy savings in buildings. But this regulation, which has sparked a profound shift in France, is not enough. And we were very happy with the French championships for energy savings as well, which was able to create a vibrant, collaborative network where building professionals, property managers, facility managers, energy managers learn to act together. So as EDF, we are very proud to be part of this French Team France, bringing our expertise, our innovation, and our energy to provide concrete solutions for territory, business, and citizens. I would like to add just a word that actually energy savings is key, obviously, but it should work hand in hand with the electrification of the economy. It was also mentioned by my colleague from ENGIE. The electrification of uses, whether heating, mobility, or industrial processes, is the very foundation of long-term decarbonization. So together, within the Championship for Energy Savings, let us foster decarbonization and energy savings in the same time in buildings all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for me, Florence, Esther, for being with us. And congrats. Thank you so much. And so to continue talking about corporate mobilization and the role of business into winning the sustainable development, the race to sustainable development, it is my pleasure to invite on stage Diane Holdorf, Executive Vice President of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. Round of applause.
Hello, everybody. It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for having us here. WCES is a really proud partner with GlobalABC on mobilizing countries and business together on this incredibly complex value chain that is the built environment. With over 230 companies who are members, including JLL, ENGIE, EDF, Schneider, Saint-Gobain, all of us are working together on this incredibly critical agenda. And the way that has come together is in many partnership aspects is the Market Transformation Action Agenda. That was an incredibly important piece of work because it created the framing of how this complex value chain can really work together to decarbonize the built environment. It drives focus on whole life carbon, where there's been a lot of work. And of course, the embedded carbon in a building is something that we've got to critically address from design through to construction, through to operations. It also really looks at the market mechanisms and the policy enablers that need to be in place. And that's where our partnership with GlobalABC and the Breakthrough agenda becomes so important. Because without those policy enablers at the national and subnational levels in particular, we can't get the drivers that we need in place to accomplish this. But what we're moving to now is how we really drive further operating decarbonization. And that's exactly what gets us so excited with the Energy Olympics. And I kind of love that way of thinking about this because it is very complementary. It brings a remarkable way to incentivize the types of efficiency investments that are so important, not just in new builds, but really importantly in ongoing operations, because we all know how difficult it is to get the investment, the capital for renovations, and it's there that we need to really focus. The work we intend to really drive with this through the Emissions Reduction Accelerator is looking at a whole variety of asset classes. Yes, looking at buildings, owner-operator buildings, like what we've been talking about, is critically important. But where we find the majority of interest from our members and partners is to focus first on manufacturing, which we've referred to already, and on data centers, which I'm kind of surprised hasn't come up yet, at least as far as I've heard. And it's in this sort of investment area for these asset classes that we really want to bring a focus to the Energy Olympics for the decision making and the operations that are going to be critical to decarbonize these elements. And there's a key part of this that we also have to address. And that's why I'm so glad that EDF and NG were up here in particular. Because without grid flexibility and grid investment, we are not going to get the efficiency support that we need for operating our buildings. We have to have that grid partnership to be able to drive this work together. And so that becomes a critical aspect of how we work as well. And the final point that I'll make is that in a rapidly heating environment, heat is becoming the most significant physical risk that most of our buildings face. Of course, there's risk to flood, there's risk to drought, there's risk to fire, but heat, frankly, is the biggest challenge, particularly as we think about the role of investment in efficiencies for cooling and heating. And as we keep this focus, it will be driven by actual demand that might outpace our ability to invest. And that's where I think these Energy Olympics are going to be so critically important for us as well. We have to get ahead of the challenges of changing climate and tying it to the action agenda for COP30, tying it to our COP2COP agenda, showing how the investment and the action of private sector in partnership with governments is exactly how we deliver the types of progress that we absolutely need to accelerate. So we're thrilled to be a partner, very excited to see how this moves forward, and can't wait to see next year how this shows up again with great progress. Thank you.
Much for your words, Diane. So we saw a lot of committed leaders here on stage for this launch event. But after all, we are in Belém. It is COP30. It is the COP of implementation. And this is why I am thrilled to announce on stage Antonio Francisco da Costa, Chefe da Assessoria Internacional do Ministro das Cidades, and a representative of the Brazilian government and the COP presidency. Thank you so much, Antonio. Round of applause, please.
Thank you very much for the invitation. This is not my area of expertise, as you can obviously see. So I hope you will allow me exceptionally to use the notes that my colleagues who actually helped us endorse this particular product worked around the different areas of our government to make sure that what they ask us to deliver today, and translating for Portuguese is also complicated because, as you know, Portuguese is a beautiful language, but it's not exactly English friendly. That being said, as you are well has a fairly clean energy footprint in terms of energy production. And therefore, that reduces to a certain extent the impact of the sector, the construction sector and the housing sector in greenhouse gas emissions. Nevertheless, we are trying very hard, and the fact that we have joined the Chaillot Declaration, joined ICBC, added ourselves to the Troika presided by France and tried to work this out is showcase of our commitment in this regard. And we are particularly happy, I think, with the results that we got from 2 days ago and what went on during the 11th in terms of events related to this. We have recently issued a normative regarding the performance of housing that creates parameters of thermal comfort, trying to ensure an adequate level of efficiency in social housing production. Furthermore, all new contracted social housing constructions that are under our ministry will follow this particular standards in terms of thermic comfort consumption and so forth. We are also making significant changes in the specifications of the constructions of social housing to ensure that materials, the engineering, the concept of the social housing also follows this principle of being energy efficient in terms of consumption and emissions. Furthermore, we have recently issued minimal indexes of energy efficiency for the whole of the building sector in Brazil. Obviously, resolution number 4 actually, of the, the names of the mechanisms of the Brazilian government are complicated. Managing Committee of Energetic Efficient Indicators have established minimal typologies for housing, residential of social interest, other residential, commercial services, and public buildings. And obviously the focus is on new constructions, evidently, but there will be a certification to ensure the levels observed under our organization for measurements. And the trajectory is to make sure that we become really, really efficient, reducing significantly and trying to ensure that at least in the near future we work towards buildings with almost zero energy consumption. That's our hope. I know it sounds ambitious, particularly if you're walking around Brazil, you know it sounds ambitious. But it shows the commitment that we have as a government. And we are hoping, obviously, to make sure that this resolution that comes from the federal government lands at the local level. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that our mayors, who are the ones who follow constructions and follow how these constructions are being done, follow these standards. And the fact that we belong to this coalition, that they belong to this effort, is something that helps us out significantly. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. So, where are we heading next with this those World Championships? So this was the launch event. Again, thank you so much for everybody that came on stage to express their views, to express their support. All through 2026, we'll be gathering the case studies from our different partners, from the different countries engaged. We will be building them, understanding how they've been able to produce such savings, showcase them on our website, through our network, through our partners, and we will be also helping the member countries to start considering also national energy mandatory policies. All that to say that we will be there at next COP, COP31. We don't know yet where it will be, but we will know that we will be there. And we will be showcasing our efforts, showcasing the champions of the different countries that are participated, that have endorsed the program. We wanted to invite Kenya for last final words of closing. Unfortunately, they're not available at the moment. So what I will ask you is if you can all join the stage with me so we can take a group picture of everybody that's contributed to the launch of this World Championship for Energy Saving. Thank you so much.